Unless you have been living under a rock, or only scrolled through Twitter's so-called popular topics, then you must have seen the exciting news of Xi Jinping's meeting with Putin in Russia. Yesterday was the conclusion of the 3-day-long visit, during which the two discussed the future of the global economic world order, one that would not be based in the unipolar hegemony of the United States and its allies, but one that would be based in peace and cooperation. Xi and Putin have been appointed as the architects of this new future, and it's absolutely beautiful to witness the birth of a new paradigm, which actually respects and celebrates the sovereignty of other nations, peoples, and cultures. The most bold proposal that was presented at the end of the first 2-day summit was China and Russia's commitment to conduct commercial trade using their respective currencies, the yuan and the ruble. Specifically, Putin addresses the necessity of a new monetary system no longer based on the US dollar in order to protect the economic sovereignty of both nations in his statements to the media. Take this one. Quote, "Expanding settlements between our countries and national currencies is a serious incentive for promoting trade and investment cooperation. As of the end of the first 3 quarters of 2022, the share of the ruble and yuan in mutual commercial transactions reached 65% and continues to grow, which allows us to protect mutual trade from the influence of third countries and negative trends on global currency markets." Now, this means that Putin is making the final push to lay the fake, speculative, neoliberal financial system in its grave for good. But what does this mean for the West and America? The only way that we can survive this financial fallout is to follow LaRouche's 4 laws, which are the reenactment of the Glass-Steagall law, which separates commercial banking functions from risky speculative activities, which have led to the over-indebtedness of the entire system. We have to implement the national bank so that we can use the federal credit system to generate highly productive projects to ensure that the livelihoods of the citizens will not be infected by these rolling bank failures. And with those lines of federal credit, we can fund and conduct research into fusion technology, which will be an absolute necessity in guaranteeing low cost and highly efficient energy to power mankind. We can no longer keep bailing out these banks that blackmail our lives in order to protect their fake finance capital. We can't keep resuscitating a dead system when it was already in the grave decades ago. We have to fight for the future, instead of remaining in this rose-tinted nostalgia for the past. In this future that Putin and Xi have laid out, peace between all sovereign nations is another primary goal. In order for this new future to emerge, a new understanding of international relations must also arise. This new geopolitics is one that is based in securing the peace and prosperity of all nations through win-win cooperation, which China has taken the lead on with their 12-point peace proposal. China's diplomatic and peacekeeping abilities have already been put to the test with their mediation between the Saudi and Iran relations. After decades of enmity and a formal cutting of ties in 2016, Saudi Arabia and Iran restored a peaceful working relationship through their deal brokered by China to cooperate economically in the region. As a result of this new peace treaty, just over the past weekend on March 18th, Saudi King Salman invited Iranian President Raisi to Riyadh in a further move of good faith between the two former rivals. This revolution in diplomacy, sparked by Xi Jinping's insistence that long-term security can only be achieved by studying the cultural heritages of other nations and appreciating the best values each culture has to offer, has already opened the pathway for a resolution of region-wide conflicts within Southwest Asia. Already, Saudi Arabia and Yemen's Houthi faction have agreed to a prisoner exchange. Just yesterday, Saudi Arabia and Syria have agreed to reopen their embassies after cutting diplomatic ties more than a decade ago. In such a short time, the Middle East is rapidly changing in the wake of this new paradigm. This new development has been encouraging for the future of Ukraine and Russia. If those two nations and the controlling hands behind Ukraine decide to follow China's peace plan, such action will accelerate the necessary creative shifts in the West to bring us out of this dead neoliberal system. China's peace plan is extremely reasonable and nonpartisan, prioritizing the safety and protection of citizens from both nations. The plan lays out that solving the humanitarian crisis, safeguarding the civilians and POWs, facilitating grain exports, and maintaining industrial supply chains stable are key steps to resolving the conflict. But before those actions can be implemented, the U.S. government and its NATO allies must be forced, perhaps by peace movements now growing among their populations, to respond positively to the new paradigm promised by the Chinese approach of abandoning geopolitics to productively solve problems. Thanks a lot. We'll see you again on Monday. This is Kynan Thistlethwaite, youth member with the Schiller Institute.